My new school thought denying my medicine made them powerful, so I showed them what real power looks like. You know that feeling when you finally escape prison? That was me leaving fancy private academy for public school. After years of uniform checks and silent hallways where teachers treated smiling like a crime, I begged my parents for freedom. When they finally gave in, I went full rebellion mode with hot pink hair, ripped jeans, and loud music. Walking into Jefferson High that first day, I felt like I'd just broken out of Alcatraz. Funny thing about freedom though, sometimes you trade one cage for another. I'd spent years at a school that monitored your sock height and counted how many times you blinked during chapel. After that nightmare, Jefferson's rules seemed like nothing at first. Sure, they made you lock up your Tylenol in the nurse's office and treated vitamins like controlled substances, but at least I could wear my own clothes and speak without permission. Even having to store my legitimate migraine prescription with the nurse felt like freedom compared to my old place where they'd probably have called in a SWAT team. That first Monday, I brought my prescription to the nurse's office. Mrs. Henderson looked like she lived on nothing but disapproval and stale coffee. She took one look at my pink hair and slid a form across the desk. "You'll need a doctor's signature on this before we can dispense any medications," she said. I stared at the form. The prescription literally has my doctor's signature. That's how prescriptions work. She smiled that condescending smile adults say for teenagers they think are stupid. "We need a doctor's signature on our form. Rules are rules." I accepted defeat, but by lunch, the familiar migraine fog was creeping in. Stress always triggered them, and this bureaucratic nightmare definitely qualified. So I went back and politely tried again, but this time she called in the assistant principal. Mr. Davidson walked in looking like every VP who peaked in high school. Polo shirt stretched over a beer gut and clipboard in hand like it gave him superpowers. He listened to my explanation with fake concern, then started lecturing about district policy. Then his eyes landed on my tank top and he started questioning whether my straps were regulation width. I thought I'd escaped this garbage. What does that have to do with my medication? He actually said dress code violations suggested a pattern of non-compliance with a straight face, and said maybe if I showed more respect for their rules, things would go smoother. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about medication or safety. This was about two adults on a power trip who'd picked the wrong target. Fine. If this was the game they wanted to play, I'd play it loud. "I'd like to call one of my parents," I said. Davidson shrugged and handed me the desk phone, probably thinking he'd won. I flipped through the yellow pages while he stood there looking smug, completely clueless about what number I was hunting for. When I reached the radio station, I kept my voice steady. "LEL radio, how can I help you?" The receptionist answered. "Hi, I need to speak with Jeff Russell. Tell him it's his daughter." The receptionist's tone changed instantly. Everyone knew Jeff Russell. 3 hours every afternoon on a popular show in 3 states. My stepdad, who happened to be broadcasting live. Jeff's concerned voice came through asking what was wrong, and I explained I was at school with the assistant principal. They wouldn't give me my migraine medication. Jeff told me to put him on. I handed Davidson the phone with my sweetest smile. "He wants to talk to you." Davidson took it with confidence, ready to dismiss some helicopter parent. He launched into his speech about how I needed to understand that policies existed for everyone's safety. He went on explaining about forms and district regulations, even chuckling at one point like this was all some silly misunderstanding. He suggested maybe I had behavioral issues, brought up my tank top straps again, and explained that students needed to learn that rules applied to everyone. The whole time, he had no idea he was saying all this to Jeff Russell, live on air. 45 minutes later, I was in calculus when Davidson appeared in the doorway with a face like a stop sign. He walked to my desk, actually knelt down beside it and whispered, "Would you like to come take your medication?" Jeff had put the entire call on speaker and changed his show topic to schools denying kids medicine. The station's phone lines exploded with parents sharing medication horror stories and doctors explaining why preventing access to prescribed medication was dangerous. One school board member's wife even called to say she was appalled and embarrassed. By the time I got to the nurse's office, Mrs. Henderson handed over my medication without a word about forms. The fallout was beautiful. Every tiny infraction they tried to pin on me mysteriously disappeared. My tank top straps were suddenly fine. Being 30 seconds late to class wasn't an issue. They wanted me gone so badly that when senior year rolled around and they realized I had another year left, Davidson suddenly mentioned this great program where I could take community college classes for both high school and college credit. "We think you'd really benefit from the advanced coursework," he said, trying to make it sound like an honor instead of an attempt to get rid of me. I smiled. "That's sweet, but I'm really enjoying my time here." His eye twitched. They ended up giving me a full year of college credits just to accelerate my graduation. I took them, of course, free college courses because some adults couldn't handle a teenager with pink hair and a famous stepdad. I have to admit, power trips are quite fun when you actually have the power.